Hey, good morning, and how are you guys doing today? I hope you're doing amazing. So, we're back writing and doing the editing for Echoes of the Cosmic Veil, of course. We're on chapter 3. It's 5 a.m. I've got some coffee here. I hope you guys are just kicking ass in your own personal lives. Hold on one second. Let me get chat up and make sure we're actually streaming. And then we will move on and start getting some of this book knocked out of the way. Um, Outside of that, man, I hope you guys are having a kick butt start to the week so far. My week's going pretty good. I'll just be honest. I've got a whole bunch accomplished, and we are moving forward and getting this done. In which I am really bad about making myself edit if we don't have you guys along for the ride. So I guess that's what we're doing. So we are at chapter 3. Okay, so arriving at Trag's club, it was clear something was going on. Bruno and Frank were guarding the door. Bruno and Frank were enforcers for Salvador, who. Oh, wait, let's see. I don't think we need this. Salvador. Think we have it right here. Okay, Bruno and Frank were enforcers for Salvador, a well connected gangster, and known for running contraband. Ooh, a well connected who was. Okay, let's read it through. Okay, arriving at Trag's club, it was clear something was going on. Bruno and Frank were guarding the door. Bruno and Frank were enforcers for Salvador, a well connected gangster who was known for running contraband and more than a few disappearances. Many feared Salvador, but he was considered good to his friends, and Trag happened to be. Oh, no, never mind. And Trag happened to be one of them. Frank was a large man, for a human, and always looked as if he was trying to decide if he wanted to buy you a drink or mess you up. Bruno was Castorian, who. Okay. Bruno was Castorian, which by nature towered over most humans by a full meter. His fur was light. I'm going to change this light, and I think I decided it was pale icy blue, not light icy blue. And let's go to Bruno over here and make sure we change it. We don't even have that detail in here. Pale icy blue fur. Okay, so we've got that. Okay, ready? Dun, dun, dun. It had been over a year, but I knew them from a job we had worked together. They had needed some information off a data chip that had advanced encryption. It was overly it was an overly difficult task for what they were paying, but I managed to retrieve what they had wanted. I don't like that at all. Okay, hold on. Let me read. It had been a year. Hold on one second. It had been over a year. Okay. It had been over a year since we had worked a job together. They had needed some information off a data chip that had advanced encryption. Okay. Breaking the encryption was an overly difficult task for what they were paying, but I managed. Okay, breaking the encryption was an or a breaking the encryption was a overly difficult task. Was an overly difficult task. Breaking the encryption was an overly difficult task for what they were paying, but I needed the credits. Okay, as I walked up, I watched their faces as I tried to gauge the situation and figure out if scoring would still be an option. When I finally found myself standing in front of them, I realized I still had no idea what to say, so I just asked, "Is it a bad time?" Frank smiled as he opened the door for me, saying, "Oh, what do I have? I have him walking to the table. Let me read this." As I walked up, okay, I have him walking up to the door. I was confused, and for some reason, I got confused in my own mind of where we were in the placement of events. Okay, as I walked up, I watched their faces as I tried to gauge the situation and figure out if scoring would still be an option. When I finally found myself standing in front of them, I realized I still had no idea what to say, so I just asked, "Is it a bad time?" Frank smiled as he opened the door for me, saying, "Head on in. Trag was hoping you might be by today." Okay. I walked in, noticing Trag was sitting with Salvador and three men I had never seen before. Salvador was Trag's main connection and would often use Trag's club to meet with clients or hire for odd jobs. This seemed different. This time there was a lot of muscle around. One of the men looked like some type of corporate enforcer. He was human, well dressed, with a calm about him that displayed his command. The other two looked to be human, mostly cyborg, with much of it seeming to have been salvaged military tech. Trag motioned for me to come over, which I did with slight reservation considering the company he was setting with. As I walked towards the group of men, Trag smiled, saying, "Did you come to take care of your front?" Okay, yeah. The one, okay. I don't think I actually need to say the one from the other day. Let's leave it in there. I was quick to reply. "I don't want to interrupt. I just want to pay off my front and see about getting a few things." Trag placed his cyber deck out to receive the credit transfer without saying anything. The amount I needed to transfer was on the display, so I quickly transferred. As the credits processed through, Trag stated, "All squared up now. What do you want to talk about?" I wanted to get what. Ooh, okay, I wanted to get what I came for quickly, and let them get back to their business. So I politely relied, replied, right? Yeah, politely replied. "Well, I was hoping I could get a front of some bliss and amper, just enough for a good time for me and a few friends to party a little." Trad calmly explained, "Sam, I'd really love to, but as much as you could use a front, my friend, I could use your help." Do I like that? I'm gonna wait till the other people read this and tell me what they think if I should change it. I have a bunch of changes that I'm gonna do this weekend off of camera, probably for the first, however many chapters we get done by Friday, right? Which should be about chapter 6 we'll be done with. And so the goal is going to be that the people that would check it, double check that I did everything, would tell me if something sounds weird or crappy. And in all honesty, on Saturday, I'm going to go back all the way through and do a bunch of fixing on everything through chapter 1 through 6. And we'll probably do that every Saturday. I'll do some additional touch ups off of the thing. So if you guys do buy this book, there is actually something new and unique, and it's not a totally, the story in and out, okay? And of course, there's a few chapters we'll skip over because they're already done. Uh, and because I don't feel comfortable reading them, like the sex scene and stuff like that, right? I'm not really feeling like reading a sex scene on YouTube. I just don't feel comfortable there. So that's where we are. Okay, let's get back to this. Trad calmly explains, Sam, I'd love to, but as much as you could use a front, my friends could use your help. Okay, boom. Let's comment there. I tried to gauge what Trag was getting me into, but he sat there straight-faced for what seemed forever without saying a word. I felt panic, knowing the amount of credits I had remaining would not be enough to score even if I found someone else who was able to get me what I wanted. I would have no choice but to find out what Salvador and his associate needed. If not, what would I tell Sarah and Zach? Then suddenly, to my relief, Trag spoke. See, Sam, Salvador and his acquaintances have a problem. It's a tech thing, not my cup of tea. But Salvatore remembered me telling him about, do we want to leave that? Yeah, telling him about you being a technopath and your knack with that. I'm going to change this. Changing it, guys, don't worry. Okay, see, Sam, Salvador and his acquaintances have a problem. It's a tech thing, not my cup of tea. But I reminded Salvador about you, okay, you being a technopath and your knack with technology. Now Salvador and his friends want to know if you might be able to help them out. His friend is having an issue with accessing some information from some old advanced experimental tech. Anxiety hit me. Now I was wondering what would come next, and if I had gotten myself involved with something more than just a simple deal for a few doses. Trag, you know I'm willing to help you out, but I'm not really sure what I'm dealing without seeing it. Trag leaned in, taking one more swig of the whiskey he was drinking. Sam, this is Akio. He is willing to pay well, very well for this. He may even have an opportunity for us long term. So could you see if you could help him out? Knowing I had no other choice, I reluctantly said, sure, Trag. What do you need me to look at? As I sat down at the table, Akio, Salvador, Washington, Kyoto quickly introduced themselves. It was easy to tell Akio was the man in charge. He was well dressed and clearly looked to be from some corporation. I knew as soon as Trag got up to lock the door and close the place, it must be something serious. Salvador and the other men at the table glanced over at me. Let's not have them close the place. I'm thinking about this. I'm going to probably have them go to a private meeting room or something like that, lock it up or something. I don't know. I'm not convinced about the closing the place up part. I sensed the technology that made up the two cyborgs, Kyoto and Washington. They both had subdermal plating, enhanced optic, improved reflex tech, and communications links, and weapon interface links. Altogether, they were very lethal. My senses were going crazy from the energy coming from a metal case Akio was holding. I attempted to reach out with my technopathic abilities to get a sense of what might be, but to no avail. Salvador took a large drink of whiskey and without even a pause spoke. Sam, we have an opportunity, and I'm hoping you can help us out. Nerves hit me. As my words tumbled out, what do you need? I mean, what can I help you with? Trag sat. Let me just see how much. Ooh, this was really a big frickin' chapter. Just checking. Trag sat down with us as Akio laid the metal box down on the table and opened it. Asking Sam, do you know what this is? My gaze was drawn to it instantly. It was small, of strange, almost wet looking metallic substance with no visible connection points. I could sense the large amount of power it contained, which meant it likely had some kind of internal isotope battery. More than that, I felt the ego of the device reaching out for me. I could feel my technopathic abilities reaching back. I knew that this was I knew what this was, but it made no sense. So I just said what was on my mind. It's an AI of some kind, with artificial consciousness. That level of technology is impressive. How does it interface? I noticed a crack in the composure of Akio's face as he smiled. See, Sam, that's what we have here is an implant. See, Sam, what we have here is an implanted AI system, a backbrain one, from the early parts of the Great War. We really need someone who can access the data stored on it. It was far from advanced. It was far more advanced than anything I had seen before, and mysteries contained within the AI intrigued me. I replied, it seems to be sensitive to my technopathic abilities, so I think our best approach is establish a near field connection to it. What kind of data are you trying to retrieve? Akio spoke in a calm, soft voice. Good, Sam. That's exactly how our team approached the problem as well. They were having resistance, though, and could not retrieve the information we wanted. We needed a memory, specifically the location on a ship. I pulled out my cyber deck and began to set up, loading the programs I wanted quicker access to. I wondered why a corporation would not be using their own assets to retrieve the data file, but this was too good of an opportunity to ruin with unneeded questions. Maybe this was an off-books project, one that was not actually authorized or known about throughout the corporation. I thought this might be a good time to ask, do you know of any issues with viruses or other security protocols I might need to know about in advance? Akio hesitated for a brief second before saying, Sam, they noticed some resistance in retrieving the files. Some of it was barriers, and some of it was an active system hiding files. It seems the AI was still present in some manner. Our head technopath swore that there was a residual presence of the owner, but we deemed that to be highly unlikely. I inquired. You said that your lead technopath thought that the owner's presence was still in the system somehow. It might help to know who it belonged to. Akio replied, like you, Eric was a very strong technopath. Eric worked as an assistant to one of our lead scientists, Dr. Kerr, in which Eric and Dr. Kerr developed technologies for our company. The last project being worked on, The last project being worked. Okay, I don't know if I like that. The last project being work they did on the Zarkran virus. Uh, it says what we want to say. I don't know if I like how we say it, but we'll move forward. Dr. Kern was taken prisoner and sentenced to death, but was kept in stasis aboard a prison hug owned by Gleetech. Eric spent years working to find Dr. Kerr, where Dr. Kerr was being held. Then he managed to infiltrate, earning a position as a ship's officer. We know he got aboard the ship, but we have no idea where the ship is or what happened to it. On top of being one of our most brilliant scientists, Dr. Kerr is a Vermertech shareholder, making it a priority to recover her if possible. I was more curious with each moment. What data file or information am I looking for? I asked. Akio had a serious look as he said, "We need to know the location of the prison hulk. It seems Eric did something to the other crew members, then scuttled the prison hulk somewhere before leaving on one of the small transport ships. His remains only recently found on one of the planets that was being reclaimed. He died when the horrors came to it." And I might change that a little bit, but honestly, I think that this chapter we have pretty much where we want it. I'm going to wait till the other readers read through it, give me suggestions. So far, I have 3 or so changes that we're going to put into here or improvements to integrate into this. Um, but looks like we've got now chapter 3 worked through. I'll, of course, do a little bit touchy on it, but we're here. And so, you guys, I want to thank you for hanging out this morning. I hope you have a great day. Of course, I'll be back in just a few minutes with Call of Dragons, likely. I just hope you guys are amazing. Peace, very best wishes, and you guys have a great day.